Hello, how is everyone doing? So, I wanted to do a video on trauma, the subject trauma. I've been meaning to do this for a while, but sometimes you just get caught up in everything else and you don't get around to it. Anyway, so I do wanted to talk to you a little bit about trauma. Why trauma? Because this is what a lot of us are going through right now. We're in the midst of a pandemic. All right, we have no idea as to when there's going to be a vaccine, when things are going to go back to quote unquote normal, or if it's ever going to go back to that. All right. After the medical component, then we have the mental health component. And there's going to be a lot of aftermath. I know you've been hearing this a lot. There's going to be a lot of traumatic aftermath that's going to be occurring from this COVID. And COVID is just one aspect. I'm just mentioning COVID because this is what we're going through right now. Okay, but what about our own trauma? Our own childhood trauma, our own adult trauma, our own experiences that has, led us to encounter some type of trauma. If you're an adult and you have never you've never had any type of trauma, count yourself blessed. All right. At some point in all of our lives, whether it's childhood or it's adulthood or teenagers, youths, adolescents, whatever, you are going to encounter some form of trauma. Okay. So let's look at trauma. The definition of trauma says it's a deeply distressing or disturbing experience. All right. It could be a car accident, it could be death, it could be molestation, it could be domestic violence. Trauma comes in all different forms, all different types of ways. All right. So when we encounter a trauma, more or less, is how are you dealing with it? Are you internalizing everything? Are you not seeking help? Are you just sitting there with that emotion and just going through the motions and hoping that it's going to go away? Trust me, it's not. It's not going to go away. So I'm going to talk about some of the emotional signs of trauma. Okay, there's different times. There's an emotional side, there's a physical side. All right, so some of the emotional sides is sadness. All right, which is a given. You've encountered a traumatic experience, you're going to be sad. All right, there's anger, there's anxiety, there's denial, there's fear, there's shame. All right, and shame is a big one because a lot of time people encounter trauma and they go into self-blame. They're blaming themselves. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Oh, I shouldn't have been in that relationship. I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have done that. It doesn't matter. The fact is that you have encountered a form of trauma and you need help. All right, so those are some of the emotional signs. And some of the physical signs, I'm going to go through some of the common physical signs. So nausea, feeling nauseous, dizzy, your sleeping patterns is irregular. Sometimes you can't sleep. Some people would sleep 2 or 3 hours and they're good, and they're going on that for months. It's not healthy, but we have a lot of people that have experienced that, okay, because of traumatic experience. When they're sleeping, they're getting nightmares, so they cannot sleep. You're going to have change in your appetite, headaches, stomach problems, and there's a whole lot more, but those are just some of the common physical signs. All right, so remember I said the emotional signs is sadness, anger, anxiety, denial, fear, shame. Some of them, not all of them. And the common physical signs are nausea, feeling dizzy, alternate sleeping patterns, change in appetites, headaches, and stomach problems. All right. There are different types of trauma. Now, when we speak of trauma, we just put everything in a old box. Everyone say, "Oh, you're traumatized," or "I had a traumatic experience." But there's different types of trauma. All right. So let's just go through them briefly. We have acute trauma. And acute trauma is usually from a single stressful or dangerous event. Like I said earlier, it could be a car accident. It could be any form of traumatic experience that you have. It's countless. That's acute trauma. We have the chronic trauma, which is from a repeated and a prolonged exposure from high stressful events. And this could be child abuse. We know child abuse is ongoing. All right. It could be bullying. Bullying is definitely ongoing. And it could be domestic violence. It could be domestic violence, which is a big one. All right. So that's chronic trauma. And then we have the complex trauma. And complex trauma is usually an exposure to multiple traumatic events. All right. So you've been raped, you've been molested, you've had the car accident, you've had a domestic violence situation. So that is complex trauma. It's multiple events, the layers. You have the layers, okay, of different events that's occurring over a period of time. And the goal is, it does not matter. It doesn't matter what type of trauma. It doesn't matter if you've had one. It doesn't matter if you've had multiple. The goal is for you to get help, for you to get professional help. A lot of us, we talk to our friends, we talk to our relatives, we talk to our spouse, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's your supportive system. Everyone needs a supportive system. But the difference between your supportive system is that they will give you advice. They will give you emotional support. They're there to support you and get you through, whether it's the moment or the day or the week or whatever. They're there to support you and get you through that. The professional help now is going to give you coping strategies. Coping strategies is a big difference from advice. All right? They're going to give you coping strategies and a way in how you can deal with your trauma. Okay? Better ways to deal with it. So that's the difference between getting advice from your friends, your colleagues, your relatives, and going to a professional help. Sometimes you need medication. A lot of people, when they hear medication, they freak out. I'm not taking no medication. I don't want that. It's gonna do this. It's gonna do that. Whatever. Sometimes there's a need for medication intervention. All right. I'm not a big. I don't advocate medication. All right, but sometimes definitely there is a need, and I do know with medication incorporating your prayer life and your regular coping strategies, looking at it as a holistic way, you definitely can control that behavior, whatever behavior it is that you're exhibiting, and you definitely are able to cope better. All right, so we definitely do want to get help. The thing is, when we don't get help, and a lot of people don't get help for whatever reason, they suppress, they internalize, and they think that, I got this, I'm dealing with this. But the thing is, it's going to come out. Believe you me, it comes out. It comes out in maladaptive behaviors. It comes out in you screaming on your kids, cussing at your kids. Excuse me. It comes out in you getting into argument with your spouse. It comes out in the relationships that you have with your peers, with your colleagues, with your friends. So it definitely comes out. It can come out into you using alcohol or drugs as a way to suppress whatever it is you're feeling on the inside. But the thing is, with those substances, all they're doing is suppressing. That's all they're doing. And eventually you're going to need more, and you're going to need more. And then eventually we have two disorders. We have the substance use and we have the mental health disorder. So before it gets to that, we definitely need to get some help, all right? Professional help. So I want to encourage you today, whatever it is that you've experienced, whether it's mild, you think you don't need any help, whether it's an acute trauma or chronic, complex, whatever it is, I want to encourage you to get some help, okay? Whether you're getting professional help, whether you have your supportive team, whether you have your active prayer life, just bring it all together. Bring it all together and get that whole holistic picture, all right? You cannot go wrong with getting professional help. We need to break the stigma when it comes to mental health. We need to get the help when it's needed. Okay, so take care of yourself. All right, be on the lookout for your friends, your relative, who are exhibiting some type of abnormal behavior and are resistant towards getting help. Be on the lookout for that. Try to encourage them. Get this help. You know, just encourage them. All right, take care of yourself, and I'll talk to you soon.